I know that in my previous video I mentioned how I wanted to talk about the narrative in Detroit. Instead, I'd like to focus more on two things: the influences of Greek tragedy that the game holds, as well as the ethical and moral questions raised in the game. As David Cage said in a VentureBeat interview, his point with creating this game was to raise questions rather than to answer them. Many questions raised in Detroit Become Human are similar to those in other famous sci-fi novels about artificial intelligence, such as in Dan Brown's Origin. Is it a good thing if an AI limits population growth to prevent overcrowding? Or again, Amy Kaufman's Illuminae. Is it a good thing if an AI chooses to sacrifice human lives based on pure statistical chance? How does luck and chance factor into our daily lives? Is there rationality in believing in luck and hope? What's really interesting to me is that David Cage refers to this game being based on a Greek tragedy, and I'd like to take a look at how Detroit follows many key characteristics of this long-existing form of storytelling. A Greek tragedy is a type of Greek theater in which a character is brought to social, moral, or familial destruction due to the faults of their own actions. There are tragic heroes that bring about some type of downfall to themselves due to a fatal character flaw. A notable example in Greek tragedy is Antigone by Sophocles. To provide you with a brief summary, Antigone is a royal family member and sister of a military leader who disobeys the law and buries her brother after his death on the military battlefield. She is caught by contestants to the throne and condemned to death. Antigone's fiancé attempts to prevent her execution, and after much discussion, the successor to the throne, Creon, changes his mind about her execution. Unfortunately, the decision is made too late, and Antigone has already hung herself, and her fiancé also commits suicide in response. This is a classic example of a Greek tragedy. In Detroit, an example of a tragic heroine is North, who implores Marcus to kill all humans for the wrongs they've done to her. Her fatal flaw can be demonstrated by the Nietzsche quote: "Anyone who fights with monsters should make sure that he does not in the process become a monster himself." Yes, she has been treated terribly. Yes, she wants good for people who have been mistreated by humans. However, this does not excuse her for taking innocent human lives by grouping them all together into one evil group, for they have not all done something evil. If you allow her prejudice to win, you end up with casualties on both sides in the start of a civil war. It is heavily implied in the game that this is a form of downfall for North, making her a perfect example of a tragic heroine. Some other concepts that are associated with Greek tragedy are hubris, or excessive pride, anagnorisis, or the moment in a plot, especially tragedy, where the main character recognizes his true nature or true nature of the situation, leading to a conclusion of the story, and peripeteia, or the moment where a protagonist recognizes that their seemingly secure position is now vulnerable. Anagnorisis is an interesting concept to me because in a way it's a representation of how all of the main characters, and all androids in general, become deviant. Usually the hero or heroine is trying to accomplish some kind of goal, and during that process they find a flaw within themselves. This idea of realizing one's true nature is inherent to being an android in Detroit. They break through that red wall in their vision and gain autonomy. Another common flaw in the Greek tragedy is characters being entrenched in the past. In fact, each of the main characters suffers due to this flaw being found in another character that's close to them. Connor suffers because Hank is haunted by the loss of his son and frequently takes out his anger on Connor. Marcus suffers because North is spiteful towards the humans that sexually assaulted her, and she lumps all humans in with her former oppressors. Kara suffers because Todd hates that his wife left him after his drug use became worse. These surrounding characters carry a common flaw found in Greek tragedy of living in the past that adversely affects each of the main characters. Another concept that's famous in Greek tragedy is catharsis, or relief from strong or repressed emotions. In Greek theater, typically the audience is supposed to experience catharsis when they watch the play, after having watched the main character in the play suffer from their own flaws. I don't think I necessarily have to get into the meta of how the experience of playing Detroit provides catharsis for players, but in many ways Detroit goes above and beyond in order to provoke catharsis from the player. Here are some of my favorite moments from the game that causes catharsis for the character or for the viewer.
No. I just decided not to shoot. That's all.
I could kill you, and you would just come back as if nothing happened. But are you afraid to die, Connor?
Marcus, I was hoping you'd come.
I missed you so much, girl. You don't know how much I miss you.
What's wrong, Marcus?
Aside from the thematics of Greek tragedy, there are also a couple of ethical and moral questions that the game raises. As David Cage said in an interview, his purpose of creating Detroit was not to answer questions but to pose them. For Kara's storyline, some questions that are raised are, can he forgive a drug-addicted father? This is based on Todd's behavior towards the end of the game. If Kara and Alice run into him, they can either choose to be distant or forgiving, but there is no happy ending for Todd. It's an unfortunate reality that for drug addicts, even if they are to sober up for a long period of time, that doesn't relieve them of their previous wrongdoing, and this often prevents them from reuniting with their family or loved ones in a meaningful way. Other questions raised in our storyline are, can you trust a mentally unstable android? Are bad behaviors excused by good intentions? The android that Kara and Alice live with that night in the Detroit city the night they escape shows he is capable of violence and that he is an android equivalent of mentally unstable. The questions that the player must answer as Kara are, can they trust this potentially violent android, especially when it comes to defending them from the police they're on the run from? Should they force themselves and an innocent child to eat a carcass of an animal to please him? How can they mediate this situation in general? For Marcus's storyline, questions raised are, in regards to creating art, music, and painting, what exactly does it mean to be human? As you probably know, in Detroit, Marcus experiments with painting at Carl's bidding. In a way, this interaction is representation of Cage's question, could a robot create something abstract like art or music, not based upon previous sources of information? Or is it simply a replication of reality based upon pre-programmed mathematical analyses of reality? This is certainly a debate to be had in the near future, as AI are just starting to write their own books and songs nowadays. David Cage said in an interview that he visited some research labs that wanted to study how an AI could become intelligent enough to recreate human-written music. In one demo, the researchers input hours of a jazz pianist's music into an AI, and the algorithm analyzed the style of music played by the pianist. From this, the AI created a song based on one of the inputted songs that started off as that song, but eventually became a song that the AI created itself. Cage said it was horrifying that he couldn't tell the difference between the two. Here's an example of an AI-written song. Other sources discuss the current path of AI and whether we'd be able to engineer AI well enough to write books, music, create art, and more, and whether that art would be under the authorship of the AI or the programmer that programmed the AI. Though currently AI tends to be unimpressive, we can see where the future is headed with these issues. There are many instances of Detroit mentioning AI-written music and books, and the reality is that we are currently heading in that direction. The question that this leaves us with is, how human can an AI's creation of abstract human thought be? After all, our own creations, whether it be music or art, are based upon influences we see in our own lives. Who says that this can't be the same as what an AI could do? Another question is raised in regards to empathy. Connor is given orders throughout the game from the DPD and Cyberlife that conflict, and he often must make a decision between the two. However, in Kara's case, she must make the choice between rationality and empathy. In the early part of the game, Kara has the option of stealing money from a store, and an option to steal clothing from a man in the laundromat. If she does so, Alice becomes very upset with her in both cases. However, rationality from Kara's point of view says that these actions are required in order for Kara and Alice to survive, so they are justified. On the other hand, what if the man at the convenience store was fired for allowing a robbery to happen right under his nose? What if the man at the laundromat was washing the only clothes he had and he had to sacrifice his food for the week just to buy another pair of clothes? Overall, I think that there are so many interesting questions and allusions made in Detroit that I highly respect. They provoke food for thought and provide an interesting medium of a quick-time event-based game to portray it all. In many ways, I see Detroit as a masterpiece in making us question our own morals. Finally, here is a collection of some of my favorite scenes in the game that are either emotional or raise ethical, moral questions in the viewer.
I know what you think of me. You hate me. You hate me, don't you? Say it! You hate me! God, what am I doing? I'm sorry, honey. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You know I love you, don't you? You know I love you. Then one day, he took a bat and started hitting me. For the first time, I felt scared. Scared he might destroy me, scared I might die. So I grabbed a knife and I stabbed him in the stomach. Carl, no! Oh, Carl.
Humans, fragile machines.
Carl, don't leave, okay? Please don't go. Don't leave.
Remember, Marcus, don't let anybody tell you who you are.
No. No. Dad. No. Please.
Why didn't you shoot?
I just saw that girl's eyes, and I couldn't. That's all.
You're always saying you would do anything to accomplish your mission. That was our chance to learn something, and you let it go.
Yeah, I know what I should have done. I told you I couldn't. I'm sorry, okay?
Well, maybe you did the right thing.
We interrupt our scheduled programming to bring you these images, which have just been broadcast on Detroit's citywide news channel.
A group of androids infiltrated the Stratford Tower and hacked into the broadcasting system of local news network Channel 16.
What looks like an android without its skin.
We came here to demonstrate peacefully and tell humans that we are living beings. All we want is to live free.
This is an illegal gathering. Disperse immediately, or we will open fire.
We're not looking for confrontation. We've done no harm. We have no intention of doing any. But know that we are not going anywhere until we have secured our freedom.